Go ahead.
Are we ready? We will call the meeting to order at 5:31. If you will all rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, that is a symbol of perfect friendships among the united cultures.
I'll have it pretty soon.
Oh, all right, Miss Sandoval, roll call, please.
Dr. Archambault,
Yes.
Ms. Hunt Bailey, Mr. Jaramillo,
Here.
Mr. Ortiz, Mrs. Lee.
Present, and we do indeed have a quorum. Thankfully, we get to proceed. All right, are there any changes to the agenda?
Mrs. Lee, I have a correction on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
Under presentations, D, under secondary partnership with John Hopkins, our presenter's name, our partner's name is Michelle Starnes, not Michelle Strains.
Okie dokie.
So that should say Starnes.
Thank you. Is there anything else? All right, Superintendent Widener, is there a recommendation to approve the agenda as corrected, correcting Ms. Starnes' last name?
I recommend to approve.
All right, may I have a motion, please?
Move to accept the agenda as corrected.
And a second?
I second.
Thank you. All right, it has been moved by Dr. Archambault and seconded by Mr. Jaramillo to approve the agenda as corrected. I don't believe we have any further discussion at this time, so we shall proceed to a roll call vote. Mrs. Sandoval, please.
Dr. Archambault,
Yes.
Recording in progress.
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Lee.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Adoption of the minutes. Are there any amendments to the minutes? All right. Superintendent Widener, is there a recommendation to approve the minutes as presented?
I recommend to approve the minutes.
Thank you. And then may I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 5th, 2024.
Thank you. And a second.
One second.
Thank you. All right, it has been moved by Mr. Jaramillo and seconded by Dr. Archambault to approve the minutes of March 5th, 2024 as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we shall proceed to a roll call vote. Mrs. Sandoval.
Dr. Archambault,
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Lee.
Aye, motion carries. Mr. Widener, recognitions, please.
You know, this is getting to be my favorite time of the month when we get to do these recognitions. I'm going to start off with the Edu Champion Belt. As you know, our district this year, we're focusing on our social emotional learning. We're focused on our engagement of students. We're focused on our teaching and how we can be leaders in our schools. And so throughout the school year, we've been passing the Edu Champion Belt from staff member to staff member, from outstanding folks that are on our campuses. And so it's my honor to recognize an outstanding teacher who currently teaches at San Rafael. She is wonderful. She's been at San Rafael for a long time, teaches kindergarten and first grade, and is just an outstanding person. She cares about her kids. You walk in her classroom and you feel the love, and you feel how much those students are learning and empowered to learn. And so at this time, it is my pleasure to present the Edu Champion Belt for the month of March to Mrs. Barbara Muriel. Put it on you. And then you have to throw a punch.
Oh, I thought y'all made a photo bomb.
You guys want to take a picture with her? How many years have you been at Center Point?
10 years. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations and thank you. It's teachers like you that we're so happy to have in the district. I think I can say that wholeheartedly, and the kids are so lucky to have you. Thank you.
My job.
Congratulations.
I also
Mr.
need to
Weidner.
give the SEL Love plaques. They are kind of a traveling trophy. They go from classroom to classroom. Have been in classrooms, and they say we want to reach the kids' hearts before we reach their minds. And so we have a secondary and an elementary. And so it's my pleasure to start off with the secondary version. I want to recognize a teacher from Grants High School who has taught at Grants High School for many years. Came over from the Philippines and was one of the first Filipino teachers to come to the community of Grants, and kind of started a great tradition in our community. And she does a lot for her kids and grows her kids and is always willing to take on a new challenge. And so it's my pleasure to present the secondary SEL Love plaque to Mrs. Blanca now. You guys want to take a picture with her?
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Our elementary SEL plaque goes to an outstanding individual who goes back and forth between Cabero and Cebolleta. She impacts teachers in her role as an instructional coach, but she also impacts students. She deals with students and helps students and guides students and leads students. And so it's my honor to present the SEL Love plaque for elementary for March to Mrs. Carrie Ballou. Thank you guys.
Now it's not here today.
You guys.
Thank
Congratulations.
That completes our SEL plaques and Edu Champion for the month of March.
Wonderful. Ms. Sandoval, are there any citizens to address the board?
No, ma'am, there is not.
All right, there are no citizens to address the board. So Superintendent Widener, presentation.
We have some extraordinary presentations tonight. At our last school board meeting, we talked about that we really want to get a handle on where we are with the class of 2024 and the graduates from each of our high school sites. So our principals are here to present in alphabetical order, and they're going to talk about their graduating classes. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to turn the floor over to Ms. Laura Coles, who is the principal at the Early College High School.
Good evening, Mr. President, Dr. Archambault, Mr. Jaramillo, Superintendent Widener, Central Office, welcome. My presentation was simple and easy because I don't have that many kids that they do. So I thought I would do something different this year and give you a look at all of them. Next slide. We have 6 seniors graduating this year. Chastity Aldaz, Chris Brunson, Jaden Du Holtzoy, Hayden Martinez, and Xavier Toledo. Next slide. I wanted you to see all of them and the accomplishments that they are working on right now. Chastity plays basketball and volleyball for the Grouch Pirates, a lot. She's on track for graduating with her high school diploma and her associates in science. She is going to continue her bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Next is Krista Brunson. She works hard in dance. She works at St. Teresa at the daycare. She's on track with her high school diploma and seeking her degree in art. She's working on her education degree, so hopefully we'll get a good teacher out of this one.
Yes.
Jade, she's from the Pueblo of Laguna. She plays basketball for Laguna, and she also plays softball for Laguna. She's on track to graduate with her high school diploma, and she's graduating with 2 associate's degrees, one in art and one in creative media. So she's really worked her tail off. This is her twin brother, Dude, and he's also from the Pueblo of Laguna. He likes raising rabbits. He's real into welding. He will be getting his high school diploma, and he's working on a welding certificate, which he will finish this summer. Amy Martinez, she's part of the planning committee, and she's also our yearbook president. She's on track to graduate with her high school diploma and associate's degree in applied business. She hopes to open a business in Gratiot.
Good girl.
Xavier, he's hoping to open his own business someday. He is graduating with his high school diploma and wants to attend UNM to start his path of business. All of our students have applied for scholarships, including the Continental Divide. Some of them have been offered the Opportunity Scholarship and Scholar Dollar and all FAFSA, everything's been taken care of, and some are even pre-registered for costumes. And that's my 6 from Early College.
Continuing in alphabetical order by school. Hopefully she's not doing.
Have any questions? Because Stevie hasn't even been happy. She doesn't have any questions.
So how did they end up being the dragons?
The kids voted.
Oh.
He asked, how did they become the dragons?
Oh, the very first class of 2019, when they had the very first class, they voted. And they voted on their mascot, things that they wanted happening in the school. They still do, we still get them together and do a lot of voting every year for school flowers and songs, but that's how they became the dragons.
So you have 100% graduating this year?
Yes.
That's amazing. Yay.
That's it.
Stevie.
Would you like to keep track of them over the next 4 years?
Jackie and Steve. Hopefully Mrs. Elkins doesn't have a slide for each of her seniors. From Grants High School, ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Stevie Elkins.
Good afternoon, Mrs. President, board members, directors, thank you for having me. My name is Stevie Elkins. I am the principal at Grants High School. Assistant principals accompanied me today, and I know I haven't had an opportunity to formally introduce, but you know Mr. Reyes Jaramillo, he's been with me since the beginning of the year, but we have recently hired Ms. Miranda Barajas, and she is taking the role of assistant principal as well. So I just kind of wanted to take the time to introduce her to the board, because you know her and you've seen her, but she's in a different capacity because she's gone to the secondary dark
She's
side.
gone to the dark side.
So I'm gonna give you a really brief update on where we're at Grants High School. And Michelle's been kind of critical in helping with our profile of the graduate. This is the profile of the graduate that we have been using for the last couple of years. Michelle with Johns Hopkins has been instrumental in redeveloping that for our kids. She's been working with students from Grants High School and students from Laguna Acoma to develop their profile of the graduate, because this is something that has been adult developed. And so she's been instrumental in helping our students develop their own profile for graduation and the profile of the graduate. So they're pretty basic. We want them to obviously master their academics in their course, their math, their sciences, their social studies, their language arts, and then apply those skills to electives. We want them to demonstrate curiosity, adaptability to new challenges. We want them to have global and cultural awareness. We want them to have social and emotional competencies. Mr. Ryder talks about that SEL stuff. We really want our kids to focus and immerse with that, because that's something that they are not aware of. It's there and it's in there, but that's our job to help them bring that out. So we want to really focus on that. Ethical responsibility, ethical citizenship, career and college readiness, and preparedness for anything post-secondary, leadership, collaboration skills, and just that critical and creative thinking beyond high school. And so those are the things that they'll gain in high school, but those are the things that we want them to just to demonstrate beyond that in whatever capacity that they're in. So I also, just because I know some board members are new, and I know some people are not secondary, they're not secondary people. So just a really brief overview of what graduation at a public school in the state of New Mexico looks like and what they're required. They're required 4 credits of English. They're required 4 credits of mathematics. The highest level of mathematics that they have to take is Algebra 2. So we have a pathway, and it follows Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and then next level math. It doesn't necessarily have to go like that. They have to reach Algebra 2. They have to have an Algebra 2 credit. And those other credits, they can take pre-calculus, they can take applied math, they can take financial literacy, anything beyond that. So 4 credits of social studies, and those are very, very strict. New Mexico, world history, US history, econ, and government. Econ and government are a half a credit each, and they split it semester. They need 3 credits of science, and 2 of those credits have to be lab sciences. They need 8 credits of electives and 1 career cluster. They also have to demonstrate competency. And right now for the cohort of 2024, they just have to take that test. There's not a cut score for those tests. There's not a requirement. They have to take those tests. Cohort 2027 will be the first cohort in years that is required to hit a proficiency cut score for SAT, for NMASR. Those are the 2 ESTER required tests. If you're an ELL student, you have to take an access test until you test out. Students in the state of New Mexico also have to have an AP, a dual credit, or an honors course in order to graduate. At the end of their freshman year, they should earn about 5 credits if they are traditional and on track. At the end of their sophomore year, they should earn about 11. At the end of their junior year, 18, and at the end of their senior year, GCCS requires 26 credits, which is 2 credits higher than that of the state. And that comes in the way of driver's ed. Let me think of what else the extra is. Driver's ed course, the health course used to come from the high school, the health course is now coming from the middle school, and we're honoring that from the middle school. So our requirement is 2 credits higher than that of the state. So, these are kind of the numbers that we're talking about. We have 175 students in this cohort. It's important to note that 12 of those students are returning seniors from last year. So they're not necessarily part of this cohort. Those 12 are part of the 2023 cohort, but they will graduate with the 2024 cohort. So for numbers purposes, I'm gonna add them, but I'm gonna give you the rate with them and without them because they don't count towards this cohort's graduation rate. In the state of New Mexico, if you have not obtained, if you have not graduated by August 1st of your cohort year, you're considered a non-graduate, but a completer. So essentially you completed those credits, but you did not graduate with that cohort. So I'll have 2 different graduation rate with those kids and graduation rate without those kids. So right now, we have 119 students fully on track, not worried about them, have not failed anything, not in any sort of credit recovery, just they're on autopilot at this time. We have 34 students who are on track, but are recovering some credits. They are enrolled in those credits, they're working on those credits, and we anticipate them to be done with those credits come graduation time. We have 4 life skills students who, one of them, from my understanding, that could change, will be returning for our 18 to 22 program next year. So only, so when that happens, they don't receive that diploma until they're done. When they decide at 22, we will award that diploma. So they'll graduate with this cohort, but we won't give them their diploma until they are ready to exit Grants High School. And again, we have those 12 seniors who are returning seniors. I have 6 students right now that are on my red list that there are circumstances, attendance circumstances, or I have a student who has been in Arizona with the mom for 2 years and has not been at school at all, but is of graduation age, and so we're trying to make up those credits. So he will probably graduate next year. But out of the 175 that I have in the senior class, I have 6 that are probably not going to graduate on time with this cohort. So the 96% graduation rate, excluding those 2023 cohort seniors, I have a 93% graduation rate with those 12. If I include those 12, I have a 93% graduation rate. So overall, not bad at all. I did them by ethnicity just in case you want to see, because I know that that's important. 100% of the African American students, 100% of the Asian students, 100% of the Caucasian students, 98% of the Hispanic students, 96% for our Acoma students, 90% for our Laguna students, 93% for our Navajo students, 100% for our Mescalero students. I do have 1 student who is classified as a Native American, but others, so I don't necessarily know what that is. I have 1 Dewey student on track. And then, as far as what, I just wanna give you guys an idea about what we are doing to alleviate those credit recovery kids. So pre-COVID, we charged for credit recovery. If you failed a course at Grants High School, in order to recover it, we charged you $50 per half credit. Because at the end of the day, we want that to sting a little bit, because the alternative, you know, parents are like, well, is there something else? 100% you can pass that class. You know what I mean? That the alternative is that you pass the class. Now, that doesn't necessarily happen all the time. We have attendance issues, we have just complete, we stop going, whatever. So we do want that to sting a little bit. Fast forward to COVID, everybody was struggling. So we pulled back the requirement to pay for those recovered courses, the district covered those. Now we're 2 years out of that. We have, as of last year, brought back the requirement to pay for those credits. We cover the first half credit free, and any half credit that you fail thereafter, you're responsible for. Now, we know and we acknowledge that it's difficult for some families and it's difficult for some kids. However, we still want them to be accountable for those credits. So we have implemented an in-person recovery option for those students who cannot afford to pay. They're going to pay in the form of time. Because to us, it's gotta be one or the other. We want to discourage students from failing classes. We want to discourage students from failing classes intentionally, because we found last year that there's some kids that prefer that, because I can sit in class and not go or not do anything, I can pay for this, or they're gonna cover it and I can recover it quickly within 3-4 weeks and not have to worry about that. So we want there to be a little skin in that game so that kids are going to class and they're learning from a teacher. At the beginning of the year, we told these kids, if you are here and you're on time and you're in class and you're participating, we will get you through. We will get you through. It's when we stop going to class. And I would like to say that the problems that we have with failing kids are directly tied to attendance. It's not content issues, it's not behavioral issues, it's not, anything like that. It is directly tied to their attendance. So for those kids who are unable to pay for those, we have offered a 4-day-a-week after school. We have 2 teachers that will recover darn near anything that you need to recover. They're both special ed teachers, so they have backgrounds with accommodations, they have backgrounds with modifying things, they have backgrounds with all of that. And that's been instrumental. Those 2 teachers have been instrumental to this particular cohort. So, and that's all I have. Can you answer any questions, comments? Good? Okay.
Awesome, thank you, Stevie.
And finally, alphabetically with an L coming in third. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Jackie Sanchez, the principal of Laguna Acoma High School.
Mr. President, board members, Mr. Advisor, and directors, thank you so much for having me here. I always tell you I love talking about my school and then first thing I want to say is I want to support what Ms. Hopkins was saying about the John Hopkins program we had. It was a great thing and the kids loved it. But one of the things that I love most about it is the collaboration between Grants High School and Laguna Acoma. We took turns hosting, so we took our kids from Laguna Acoma and they went to Grants High School and they hosted, and then Grants High School students came to Laguna Acoma. And what a relationship the students have been able to build over the last couple of years, and to be able to work together and see that we're all students of Grants and Boulder County Schools and we all have the same goals. Our kids really built some friendships, and it's been really nice to see that and that bridge come together. So I want to take Ms. Stars for doing that, because she's really been instrumental in making that happen between the 2 schools and bringing our district to one district, not just the east side, the west side, crazy people in the buildings. So the senior class of 2024, we're gonna actually have 40 students. So Ms. Alton talked about cohort. So cohort is these students from their 9th grade. That's when the cohort starts, all the way to their senior year. So as you can see, we have 40 students now. 3 from the cohort. That means that I have 3 students who, from their freshman year, aren't graduating this year. So that's what we'll talk about in a minute. This is our ethnicity in our seniors. We have 24 Laguna, 10 Acoma, 0 Navajo, 0 other, 3 Hispanic, 2 Asian, and 1 Caucasian. We have a 93% graduation rate, and 3 of the students are set to graduate in 2025. So the students that are not graduating, that fell out of that cohort, are still going to graduate. They're all 3 juniors, and they're ready to graduate next year. Okay, now good. Thank you, sir. The one on track, we have 37 students who are on track to graduate through Laguna Acoma on May 18th. You guys are all welcome, and you'll get invitations, and we hope to have you there. We have 2 students, the students on the line, and that's our border students, ones that we're monitoring. We have 2 students, and both of them are from Laguna. What we have done, so what I want to do is I want to go over not just what we've done so far with those students, but what we're going to continue to do to try and make sure these students graduate. So we have parent meetings. I have amazing SSAs. They do a great job. They meet with every single student one-on-one. They set appointments. Then they have the parent come in, and it's the SSA, the parent and the student, and they come in, they do a transcript review, they make sure they're on track, talk about what they've chosen on major clarity, what their pathways are, and get all those things going. And so they've had the parent meeting, the student meeting, the transcript review, and then offer after-school tutoring. We have that funding that we do after-school tutoring, so we make sure we offer that. If we have students that are seniors that are on this pathway, then they're required, we get the parents to sign a agreement that they will come to those after-school tutorings. We document every meeting in Synergy, so I go back and I review all our notes from the SSAs, meet with the parents and the student, and we're able to see like what conversations they're having, so that if a student doesn't graduate, we feel confident we've done everything we could, we met with the parents, we met with the students, and we really tried. And then the action plan from here to this point to the May 18th date is SSAs will check on students twice a week. So these two students, they're twice a week, they have schedules, and they come in and meet with them, making sure they're keeping up their homework assignments. Are they going to after-school tutoring? Are they keeping up with their grades? Is anything else falling behind? Are we falling in love? Are we getting senioritis? All those things. And then 3 weeks prior to the meeting, they'll have a parent meeting again. So they'll meet with every single senior one more time to do a transcript review, so we get ready to look at college. And we have one senior not gonna make it. This student transferred to us, and it's gonna break Stevie's heart. This student transferred to us from Grants High School. Grants High School worked very hard with this young lady. She had some changes in her life at home, and during that time, she fell behind, and she's not gonna graduate. That's one of the toughest conversations to have with the principal. You have those conversations to talk to the students, say, you're not gonna make it. There's not enough time, there's not enough classes, there's not enough things to make you get through there. So we did a transcript review with her parents when she first came to us. We offered tutoring. We called in the student on a regular basis, follow up with her parent and her significant other. We have weekly report for dual credit and ingenuity to check her grades. She was taking a lot of ingenuity classes. We knew this was gonna be a challenge. We worked with Ms. Elkins and we talked about what they were trying to do, and we kind of picked up what they were doing, and it was just a big challenge for her. We document in Synergy all her reviews. Our action plan, so we're gonna make plans to try and get her done this summer. I don't want this young lady to come back next school year and spend a whole nother school year. So we wanna try, if we can get her by summertime, get her that diploma. If not, we do have our contingency plan, and we're gonna have our schedule built. So the idea is to have a schedule built for next year and say, okay, this is what you're gonna have to do next year if you don't make it by summer. Hopefully that's gonna be that carrot that's gonna make her work hard and make it so she can graduate. Okay. And that's it. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr.
And I
Sanchez.
know I talk 100 miles an hour, and you are always welcome. I was a math teacher. Could you imagine having me as a math teacher with 100 miles an hour and trying to learn the quadratic equation? So it's tough. So I recognize that. So if you guys have any questions and I went too fast, I can do it all again if you guys really want me to, just so I can be as fast as Stevie. So
We will be at the graduation.
and you guys will all get an invitation. We'd love to have you there. And so
Thank
thank you guys all for your time and everything that we're doing. We got 9 weeks left, and we're gonna make sure we're successful. Thank
You guys have a hard job, you're at the end of the line of the education, and it's hard.
And I'll be honest, we have a hard job, the teachers have a harder job.
Yeah.
They've got to keep them going,
Yeah, but-
keep them awake in class.
But that 12th year is the critical year, and that's the hard one, to see who finishes at the end of the runway or at the end of the run.
Nothing like that.
Congratulations.
Handing that diploma. That is what-
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Sanchez. At this time, Mr. Sanchez and Mrs. Elkins have both kind of given a shout out to our next presenter. We're very fortunate to have a great partnership going with Johns Hopkins University, and it's my pleasure to introduce Michelle Starnes and let her speak to you about kind of what we're doing through this partnership.
I just want to say a 93% graduation rate in 96 is amazing. Madam President, please, for having me, Vice President Admio, board members, executive leadership team, and of course Superintendent Wagner. It is a pleasure and an honor to stand in a room with advocates of education today. And I thank you for inviting me today, and I thank you for the partnership that we have. I'm here today to provide an update. You heard a little bit from both of our principals and members of the community here. Thank you. I want to say thank you for being here. of our partnership with Johns Hopkins University. And specifically, I want to talk about our student design team that encompasses both schools. I want to talk a little bit myself so you know who I am. Some of you have never met me. Otherwise, some of us have because it's a small community New Mexico is. My name is Michelle Starnes. I am a senior program officer at the Everyone Graduate Center for Johns Hopkins University. I have 21 years of education experience. Preschool, I taught all the way to secondary. I am a licensed administrator in the state of New Mexico. I worked for 5 years at the Public Education Department as the Deputy Director at the Private Schools Bureau, where I oversaw school improvement. So when I say congratulations on a graduation rate, that means something, right? While I was at the Public Education Department, I oversaw principal leadership programs, PPE, Principals Pursuing Excellence, and RISE. Our Dr. Martin happened to participate in that, along with some of our other principals here in the district and some of our teachers, who later became principals. I do hold an MBA, and I am currently a PhD student earning my individual, family, and community education degrees, so at the University of New Mexico. It was during my time at the Public Education Department when I worked with high school redesign, which is why I have such a strong connection to Laguna Acoma High School, because they did partner with us at that time. It was Stanford University and Johns Hopkins University, and so that's where my connection and how they poached me to work for them, if I might be just honest. Most important, I think, I am a wife of a lot of years. I have 2 sons who both graduated from the public schools here in New Mexico. I am a native New Mexican. I live in Valencia County. I have strong roots in the South Valley. That's where my family is from. So when I come to work with the students, it's personal to me because this is my home and these are all of our students. Thank you. So I have to say first, that the partnership that I have with Johns Hopkins University and with Grant-Sigla County Schools would absolutely not be successful if it wasn't for the 2 principals that are sitting in here with Ms. Elkins and Mr. Sanchez. The student success advisors attend every single one of our partnerships and our sessions. And I do have to say that for our cafeteria staff, like they have been phenomenal in making sure that everybody's fed. And I always try to give a shout out to them because most people don't know, but my journey into education started with me being a cook at a school. And so it's really important that those are the people that we elevate and that we thank as well. So I want to make sure that we give a shout out to them. So here's a little bit of background about how we came into this partnership. Other than building relationships with the relationships that I've had with our superintendent, with Dr. Martin, with some of our teachers, some of our principals that I've had for many years, they did hear that I had gone to Johns Hopkins and they said, what are you doing? Well, it starts with the Annie Casey Foundation. Some of you may or may not have heard of them. They're known for their diligent work in ensuring students and communities have opportunities and access for their success of their children, the youth. Right? So they came to the Everyone Graduate Center, and that's the space that I work at Hopkins. And what we do is we support educators in identifying barriers and challenges that prevent students from graduating. We work by co-developing and co-creating and co-designing. We work with educators, we work with students, and we work with communities to support them in building the capacity of the adults. So that we're not the experts, we're partners. We come in and work with and to provide that partnership and that thought partnership with them. And so hence became a grant. And the grant is the Casey grant, the On Track to Career Success grant. And so that's what pays for me to come to grants. That's what pays for me to bring snacks and treats and all the fun things with our students and travel. And so it costs nothing to Grant-Sigla County Schools. And so grants came to me and said, when they reached out to me and said, we just put in these pathways. And I think I was here in June of 2022 and presented to the board about the potential of a partnership. But they said, we just put in these pathways and we want to know if what we're doing is working. And I said, okay, well, let's create this partnership and figure it out. So how does, I think this is really important to point out to you, how does our partnership coincide marry and fit nicely with your 5-year strategic plan that Grand Sebo County Schools has. And we have 3 goals that we can nicely say that what we're doing in a partnership relates to those. So let's start with goal number 1, recognizing our cultural diversity and fostering student excellence. It's supporting, which is the desired outcome that you have on your strategic plan, for students to reach their college and career goals. And you heard both Stevie and you heard Jackie talk about the profile of the graduate, and we'll get to that, but that's the way that we're trying to meet that outcome for you. The second goal is goal number 3, creating a safe and supportive environment. The desired outcome that you've set on your strategic plan is that students have access to emotional, mental, physical, and academic supports. We're fostering this through student agency and belonging through this design session and team. The third goal that supports your strategic plan is goal number 4, where we're engaging our diverse families and communities in student success. And we're doing this through that desired outcome that you have, that students, staff, and families all collaborate with the community on a regular basis. We're meeting right now once a month with our students. And so we're collaborating, and hopefully this next school year, we'll start getting into the community, and the students will start, I'll get into that, but the students will start facilitating focus groups, which is really important. So again, what's our question? So when you came to me, you said, how do we know what we're doing is working for grant schools? Are students successful in college? Are our students able to choose a career that sustains a family? That last question is very different from them just having a job. How do they have a career that sustains a family? We know that research right now is showing evidence that students who start their freshman year in college often don't finish. And our goal is that students stay with a minimum of 2 years in college. Sounds very familiar if you think of our trend in high school. Our biggest dropout happens to be our freshmen. That's what evidence is showing across the country, okay? So before we can measure anything, and this was my response to the team, was we need to know what we're measuring, right? So you have all these pathways, but what is it that we need to measure? Go ahead. So this was the development of our student design team. They're so much fun. They bring me so much joy. And the reason we started with students, really important that you know this, because when students are the architects of their own learning, they are engaged. And when they are engaged, they come to school. And when they come to school, they graduate, right, with the skills necessary. So starting with the students is intentional, okay? So I'll tell you again, our SSAs were amazing in choosing a diverse group of students. And so we started with them together. And the question I asked them was if they wanted to have a session with just Laguna Acoma and a session with Grants High School, and unanimously the students said, no, we want to work together. I think that speaks volumes to our community here. It's going to bridge relationships. It's already doing it. You heard Jackie speak about it. So that's quite amazing. We have, right now you see this picture, and well, that's Max at the bottom, and then you see Gwen. We do a lot of fun activities because we bring the milestones to life, and I'll talk to you a little bit about those. We present and we have the facilitation of a professional development so the students feel like they're empowered and that their voice is being heard and they have a sense of belonging in these sessions. There are 18 students, 9th through 12th grade. We alternate sites, so we go 1 month to Grants High School, 1 month to Laguna Acoma, and we have a 2-hour session. So we've only met 6 times. You're going to see the progression for 6 times is quite amazing, which includes lunch, so they have time to network and they have time to build relationships, and it's actually pretty beautiful. They're using something that is new and that companies across the nation are utilizing. Our students here are being exposed to the Harvard's Liberatory Design, co-design. It's a human-centered design that takes away the hierarchical method that we're all used to, you know, the top down, here's what you have, this is what you're gonna follow. Instead, it's an even playing field that the students have equity of voice. The adults are there, we're co-designing with them, but it's really the student's voice coming to light. And you're gonna be pleasantly surprised to see what they're that'll be presented to you. Okay, good. So, super important that our students are building skills. These are a few of them. Problem-solving skills during their sessions, setting goals, having effective communication, time management, because we've got something to do, and we need to get it done, right? Building relationships, delegation. They can determine who's got the greatest strength where, and they can delegate within their own little group. And civic engagement and community outreach, which is vital and important for our students, because we also know, evidence shows, that when students have civic engagement and outreach, when they have service learning opportunities, it develops empathy, right, for others and for their community. So that's it. Okay. So you heard me talk about the national milestones. Okay, Michelle, how are we gonna measure? What are we measuring for? And I'm sorry if I'm going over, but okay. The national milestones are milestones that were created nationwide with educators, from teachers, principals, and superintendents across the nation came together and said, these are the milestones that students should be able to have in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade to be successful in either a career or college when they graduate. Now, it's separated into three sections. So your academic, your social, relationship-driven, that's together, and then your post-secondary choices, okay? So when I came onto Johns Hopkins, I will honestly say, and they hear me say this a lot, and they said, here are these milestones, Michelle, these are the things that we're using to support students across the nation. And they told me who was on this grand list of educators who helped develop this. And I said, how many students participated in this session? And they said, none. And I said, well, that's a problem for me. And so that is the first thing I do. We have 5 schools that I'm working with in New Mexico on the On-Track to Career Success initiative. And every single one of those schools, the students are looking at them, the students are annotating them, the students are rewording them, the students are saying, that's not something we should be doing in 9th grade. Michelle, we should be doing that in 8th grade. Okay, so we're customizing the milestones for Grand Sable County schools. You should have a copy. I think Ms. Sandoval gave you a copy in your notebooks to review later at your leisure. So when we started looking at the milestones, they are like the stepping stones to the profile of a graduate. You've heard the term profile of a graduate. It is now being really marketed from the New Mexico Public Education Department, from cities across the world are talking about, you know, the profile of a graduate. It can be the portrait of a graduate, portrait of a learner. We can discuss that later, however we want it to be for grants. The method of this typically takes on values. So some of the components of a profile of graduate are values, the cultural elements, and key competencies. So I sneak in strengths when I talk with our students because I think it's really easy for any of us to think about the things we don't have, our deficits, right? And I really want the students to feel a sense of pride of who they are, who their families are, and who their community is as a whole, and their school and the building that they walk in every day. So the strengths that your students, our students, came up with are phenomenal. So I asked them what the strengths of their students, of themselves was, the strengths of the people in the building, the adults in the building, from the cafeteria workers to the secretary, to our principals, to our teachers, and the community. And can we turn that for me, please? I'll give you a second to read some of those descriptive words that your students collectively described themselves, the adults, and their community. For traditional students, the adults are forgiving and they feel protected. It's very important. And I love that they've identified their community as being fierce, right? Like, that's incredible. That was one of our first sessions. That should tell you so much about our population here, right? So that's one of the very first things that we did that was collective. So the next slide, please. Our values. Wow. So When I say that Grand Cibola County Schools is trailblazing this work across the nation, please know I don't say that lightly. The Aurora Institute, Carnegie, the Barr Institute, AIR, the Gates Foundation, all hear me speak of what we're doing at Grand Cibola County Schools with our students in the student design session, and they are curious and they want to know more. So we are trailblazing this work. So the students in one of their sessions were asked, what are your values? And they personally, individually described their values. And then they came collectively as a group to look at which ones do we have in common, and collectively they chose these values. These are not typical values chosen by students across the nation. Altruism? Imagine your students chose altruism as a value. That's incredible. They took the time to define them, so they defined them. They took the time to actually come up with behaviors that mirror their values so that they fully understood and encompassed what those values mean. So that's pretty incredible, I have to tell you. All right, so common learnings, right? Here are some things that we are navigating and learning through our work, and the students all know. Super important that we have a clear vision. We know what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a profile of a graduate, right? And we know what needs to be achieved. The core function of our success is our clarity in communication. And this is probably one of the most important pieces, a culture of error. We're gonna try, we're gonna do something, and it may not work, but we can come back and do it again, because that's where the true learning happens, right? Is when we kind of sometimes miss. So here are our next steps. So we ceased our sessions in March because it's busy. We know that testing and graduation and prom and a lot of important things are happening. We have key competencies that we really need to touch on this next school year, resuming in September. I will take some time to meet with our SSAs and both principals to put all of our dates on the calendar to get them on quickly, because we do want to have focus groups that the students lead in sharing the values and asking the community and business owners and staff what their values are and if they align to what the students have come up with, right? There is going to be a student statewide convening in October where all of our students who are in the On Track to Career Success come together in Albuquerque and have a convening of their own. So students will have a design challenge, they'll get to meet other students across the state of New Mexico, and just be treated really well. So I'm really excited about that. And then we need to customize the 12th grade and beyond milestones. It's something that we need to do, okay? And then I would really like the students to be able to interview the newly 2024 graduates coming this next year to see, were you prepared? What did you need? What didn't you get? What are we missing on our profile of a graduate? Is there a milestone that we should have that we need to add? So keeping close contact with the 5 that are going to be graduating from us. And then having like the alums. So I want them to be able to talk to people, adults, who have graduated from GCCS and be able to interview them and talk with them and see where did they end up. I think that's important also. So this is a lot to do, but it's really bringing 2 high schools together, right? If you look at the bulletin boards, they're not that far from each other, and some of the things that are posted at the schools and their desires, their hopes, their dreams, personalities, all that stuff. I know that with the push from some innovation grants, with the push from the public education department to develop a profile graduate, that a question would be, when will it be? And my answer is very authentic. It should not be rushed. Because if it's authentic, it should not be rushed. Because we could have, and I said this to Mr. Maldonado not too long ago, adults could sit in a room, and Ms. Elkins spoke to that earlier, and develop a profile of a graduate, create a cute little symbol and post it on the wall. But you're asking people to buy into something that they had no voice in. And if we're talking about agency, belonging, and connectedness, we're not just talking about students, we're talking about staff, we're talking about our community, right? Everybody needs to feel like they're seen, valued, and heard, and have ownership as opposed to buy-in for the profile of the graduate. So in closing, I just want to say thank you so much for the privilege of working with these students. I come home, I mean, I am calling people and saying, what an amazing day I had, how amazing it is to work with them. And it's because of the leadership, it's because of their community, it's because of their families, it's because of the educators that are with them every single day. So, thank you, and it's time for questions.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. The first time I got to learn about your program, Mr. Sanchez shared some of that information, as well as one of the site visits that Mr. Widener and I had to Laguna Acoma. And it's mind-boggling to think what you're doing, but to see the involvement, and what you all are talking about is the ownership that the children have of that. And that's something that's just so important, you know, whether it's their education or owning an animal or getting into a business, it's what the participation is. And there's so much that you're doing. It's really outstanding to learn more. Thank you. Thank you. Sir, comments?
Yes. I'd like to comment.
Sir, go ahead.
Walter? I'll go after you.
I'm impressed. Why? Because you're developing the voice of students seeking to create agency for themselves. In this day and age, it's a tough world out there. So when I have lengthy conversations with tribal leaders and of different tribes, we have Diné, we got Acoma, we have Laguna, we have others. But my district is Navajo and also Acoma. Nevertheless, just to see these kids representing themselves in this photograph is very important in so many different ways. But for tribes, we've sought to sustain themselves for centuries and millennia. It's a tough road to hoe because tribes don't have agency as much as they'd love to. Tribes as an entity having agency in order to sustain themselves for another century is really challenging because the dynamics of this world today make it difficult for them to do that. It used to be just food, clothing, shelter, religious ceremonies and things of that sort. But we're not in control of those things all the time. So we have to have our children be knowledgeable of their responsibility to pick up that that capacity to develop their tribes in different ways. So so it comes from within. And it isn't just tribes, it's all the children in our area who need to feel that they are in many ways responsible for their families and whatever those families are going to be defined as. And that's one of the hardest things for us to do, is that we know that we don't always have all the economic opportunities in rural areas. And we know what the statistics say regarding rural capacity to sustain themselves throughout the country. And this is no different. We have all the data that we have here in the state says that we're not we live humbly, let's put it in a very positive way. We don't have all the access to a lot of resources, but our kids are the ones who need to do that. What I think we need to do is to become, as a board, much more knowledgeable about this program, because it is a fulcrum that we need to use to generate our own adult efforts to improve the school system. Because if they're going to make the commitment to improve what is going on in the schools, then we need to work with them and listen to what they are saying and try to drive our organization of who we are based upon a lot of the things that they're saying. And that voice is important. They have to feel strong and capable of making it once they leave high school here and getting out into the world. So one of the things that Acom and Laguna and some other tribes have is a word regarding strength. And we always say to each other, have strength to overcome any of the obstacles in the future. Have strength to deal with the tragedies of today. Have strength to try and sustain what it is that we're doing. And we say that a lot amongst ourselves because we know that's important to encourage ourselves to feel that togetherness that we're going to do these things. So Madam President and Mr. Widener, I wish us to continue to evolve our full awareness of what this program is. What it would be important, Madam President, is if we were able to actually have an opportunity to speak with these kids in some vehicle by which they can express their voice to us in a meeting down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Archambault. Mr.
Thank
Jaramillo.
you. And I'll echo some of what he said, and like he said, strength, and one of the things they said about the community is fierce. Like you said, the community is fierce, so they gotta have the strength to deal with the community at the same time. And then, like you're saying, before tradition was, you just went, you're in shelter, you ate. But now we have to teach our kids a little bit more how to support a family. Like you said, the bottom line is, it's easy to get a job and do, but you've got to be able to find a way to support a family, whether it's your immediate family or your elderly family, to come back and help them in whichever way. And when we blend together, like they said, we're all one nation, and we should be able to get along and work with each other and get ideas from each culture. And we're lucky to have these two schools and be able to blend all those cultures. We have all kinds of cultures. There's Hispanic, there's a whole bunch. And it's good that they come together. We're all part of this. And we have to work together. Like he says, we as a board need to also let them know that we want to work with them and we want to blend in and help them, give them the strength to deal with the fierce community, because that's one of the ones that they put in there. And at the same time, teach them to take care of a family. Because, there's not only yourself, but you've got to take care of others in the, to have the strength. And I agree, we'd like to meet these kids. How many is there, 12 or 13 or what's? 18.
And we've got 5 that are graduating, Mr. Jaramillo, from both the schools, so 5. And when asked, one of the students asked, well, what happens when I leave? Like, I'm not gonna be able to come back? Like he was really concerned that he wasn't gonna be able to participate. He goes, well then, can I nominate somebody that I think would be amazing? And I said, you guys figure that out if you want to. Yes, so there's 18 total. Yeah.
And like he says, we're at the ground level and we're teaching them to be leaders and give them a voice. And they like that, you give them a voice and they feel like they have not control, but they actually can have a voice in their community as students with adults, and at the same time in the real world. The real world is coming back. And I agree with Dr. Guy is, we'd like to look at, continue with this and keep track of this. We congratulate you, Michelle, is that right?
Yes, Mr. Jaramillo, but it's not me, it's the students, it's this community, it's the leadership that you have in this community. I'm but a vessel. That's all I am here, and just uplifting the students, and I'm so humbled and honored to work with them. Words cannot express that to you all. It is the most joyful part of my job when I worked at the public education department. Didn't realize how much I missed students, having been a teacher for so many years. And now I get.
And when you talk about food and stuff, well, that's the only reason why I went to school, is because I knew I was gonna eat some good food.
So Madam President, if you and Elaine could sit down and talk about a way in which we could create a vehicle that would be organized to have the board meet with the students. It needs to be structured so that they can say, okay, if you're going to meet with the board, then what are you going to, what do you think would be what are the questions that you think that we need to help them answer? What do we think we want to impart to the board? What role would the board have with us? I'm just trying to think of some brainstorming things that it needs to be productive, constructive, and
To the district as a whole,
yeah.
genuinely.
Yeah.
You know, I know we all were hearing that we have early college also, you know, in those students. And how are you planning on involving those kids beyond an interview after they, you know, have maybe had a few weeks in the fall? You know, what would they be able to give back as part of, you know, the follow-up?
I would love that.
You know, well, I know that we've talked quite a bit recently of following up on our students that graduate, where they are now, what they're doing, what the successes are, where we may have fallen short, but maybe getting something started, you know, immediately in conjunction with this would be helpful, and also maybe give an opportunity via Zoom, you know, to have those kids that are in college be able to talk live with the students that you still have going and give them a little bit of insight too. We're for the kids for sure.
I'd
And
like
I
that
love
too.
the ownership that you're imparting in them. I very simply said, you know, it's like if you have animals, you have the ownership of them and you're nurturing and growing. These children are not animals. I'm not trying to draw that parallel by any means, but
She's a
being an
rancher.
egg, being an egg, being an egg, you know, family lady, that just is always in the forefront because that's our livelihood. And so it's an easy parallel for me to draw.
And
so.
they depend on you, just like they depend on us.
Absolutely, but it's teaching the children from a young age to have that same care and respect and responsibility, and that follows through in a bigger picture as well. So thank you for giving me the out of being a rancher.
Well, that's the way I took it, is that's because you and I have done that.
Thankfully, yes. Thank you so
Mrs. Starnes,
much.
we are very appreciative for this partnership. We're glad that we're one of your schools and one of your districts, and we are excited to see what's coming out of it, and we look forward to keeping it going.
Thank you
for coming
so
over.
much. Thank you.
And when I drove up, I saw a license plate there that said Johns Hopkins University, and I said, I wonder who went there.
Mr. Widener.
We have one final presentation. 2 weeks ago tonight, we broke ground at Mesa View Elementary. We did our groundbreaking ceremony and celebrated that. And so now Mr. Triplehorn is here to give us a update on where we are in the process.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, executive team. So, yeah, we had groundbreaking a couple weeks ago. Event turnout was phenomenal. We got back Monday. The state issued their PO for their portion of construction on Monday morning. So we actually issued the notice to proceed, which starts the clock going. The clock is 516 days on construction. So they will be putting up construction fences starting next week. We should have equipment on site by the end of next week. So, it's coming along, I went out there today. We still have some logistics that we have to overcome as far as, currently the parent drop-off loop is, kind of where the new building is gonna be sitting, the front of it. So I have to come up with a plan on how we're gonna reroute traffic. I think I've come up with a solution. We have a planning meeting with the city and the architects and the general contractor on Monday. And so I'm gonna pose the options that I come up with. We're gonna move buses to a different location, and move parent drop-off to the front where the buses currently drop off. That's my proposal anyways. I'm gonna have to utilize some of the city's property in order to make that happen, so but I don't see that being an issue. The construction on Washington, is getting ready to start here in the next 5 or 6 weeks, hopefully. Because that's impacting our construction significantly. And so we're gonna have a community meeting. We're gonna have a meeting on Monday to plan that community meeting. We'll be doing the community meeting on Thursday, in the evening at Mesa View. So we'll be getting the word out to the Mesa View community via Zoom or via social media and robocalls and all that stuff. So it's coming along, it's moving quick. I met with the contractor today at the site. We're gonna relocate some of the playground equipment outside of the construction zone because all of it currently sits in the construction zone, in the construction boundaries, I should say. And so they're gonna relocate some key pieces of equipment, not all of it, but just so there's something for the kids to do during break. Yeah, so it's going fast. Blue Water is going along fast too. They've got stucco going up on the outside. All the stone is done on the outside. Painting is going on inside. We're going to go out there Monday, Tuesday to take a tour. We're doing Monday with the furniture company, and then Tuesday the executive team is going to be out there to tour the building.
We're trying to finalize the furniture orders,
Right.
and so we're gonna go walk through to see.
And I have the new playground going in Mount Taylor as well.
They started the playground at Mount Taylor today.
Great.
Well, they started doing the dirt work and stuff, so.
That's a start.
Kicking up
That's
some-
great.
Kicking up some dust.
So just a few projects going on, but Mount Taylor, or Mesa View's coming along quick. Next project on the board is Mount Taylor, which I'll apply for in July.
Is the city gonna put any new lines or sewer lines or anything there? What are they planning on doing to help out with the new school, do you know?
So the Washington project that the city is doing is an installation of new water and sewer as well as new curb and gutter and storm drain for the whole Washington project. The sewer line currently goes partway up Washington and then it cuts diagonal across our property, right under where the new building goes. Okay. And so they're gonna reroute that. It's gonna go down, follow Washington, water and sewer is gonna go down Washington, and then it's gonna go down Denison, between the school and the Futures Foundation. And so that's a project that we'll be doing. We're gonna be talking about that as well as at the community meeting, because it is gonna restrict traffic. When they're working on one side of the road, it'll be just one way. And so we're gonna have to let parents know that things are gonna be fluid. You may come to school one day and it's this way, and then the next day it's the other way. So just bear with us through the construction. So
Well, I know I had visited with one of the councilmen and we were talking about it, and they want to fix that whole street up because they've been, like I said, they've had issues with that street since, I mean, that's pretty low laying area, so I was letting them know that, we're building a new school and, it'd be nice to be able, and they said that they were already working on all that stuff and.
So Mesa View, so part of the construction of Mesa View is we're gonna actually scrape out the entire footprint of the building. We're gonna go down 6 feet, scrape out the dirt, haul it off to another site, put in new dirt that's compacted to the proper specifications. We're gonna actually raise the entire site up 4 feet.
Wow.
So There's gonna be a lot of dirt being
Yeah.
moved in and out of that project, so.
But I was just making sure that they're gonna take care of the drainage around there, you know, cause
Correct.
it's always right on the, it's not even in the schools, it's on the street, most of the water.
Yeah, and so like our parking lot in the new building is gonna be a little bit higher than the current parking lot, not much. But they are putting, if you drive along Washington, or if you walk along there, the side that's Mesa View, there's no curb and gutter there, it's just flat. And so they're putting in curb and gutter, so there'll be storm drains to catch that and take it out to the Rio San Jose.
Behind.
Thank
No, it
you.
looks good.
Okay,
So that's like a 2 years, but
Anything? to add?
500 days? How much is that?
construction for Mesa View is 516 days. And then we'll have a little break, because I have to abate the old building and then tear it down. The city's project is supposed to take about 4 to 6 months, is what they're saying.
So 8 months.
So 12 months.
There you go.
No, but so what is it, we're looking at 2 years completion, you know, 2026
To
school?
move into the new school building?
Yeah.
We're looking at moving in the beginning of the 25-26 school year, somewhere in there. So we'll be in construction all next school year, and then during that summer, we'll move into the new building.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank
Any
you
other
very
questions?
much, Mr. Tribblehorn. Anything else, gentlemen?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah, the city's included that
Next
too.
on the agenda is consideration of approval for special education digitizing process in the amount of $91,819.44. Mr. Widener.
We only have one action item tonight, and it is the digitizing of our special education files. We've been talking logistics with the special education department, and right now they are at capacity with their storage. They have multiple file cabinets that are full of files, and under federal law, you have to keep the records for so long. And so the solution would be to digitize those files and have them on an external storage where we could access them electronically. And so we are looking at a one-time fee of completing the digitizing of all of the current special ed records that are taking up a lot of space in their building.
Very good. Is there a recommendation?
I recommend that we do approve the fee of $91,819.44 for digitizing these files.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the special education digitizing process?
I'll make a motion to approve the digitizing, I lost my paper here somewhere.
Is there a second?
Second the motion to approve the contract award to Terralogic to digitize the special ed records at a cost of $91,819.44.
All right, it has been moved by Mr. Jaramillo and seconded by Dr. Archambault to approve the special education digitizing process for a one-time amount of $91,819.44. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, we shall proceed to a roll call vote. Ms. Sandoval, please.
Dr. Ashambo?
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Aye, motion carries. At this time, we are looking to move to executive session. This will be the discussion of limited personnel matters pursuant to section 10-15-1H2 of the Open Meetings Act. limited personnel matters regarding the summative evaluation of the superintendent shall take place in executive session and shall be shared with superintendent. The board will meet in executive session to review and discuss with the superintendent the final summative evaluation as presented, as well as review and discuss the superintendent's responses. The further process of evaluations will be discussed. Consistent with the Open Meetings Act and board authorities, and regarding the Open Meetings Act, no action will be taken and only the items listed will be discussed. Is there a motion to move to executive session as presented?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session. Discussion of limited matters pursuant to section 1015-1H2 in the Open Meetings Act.
And is there a second?
A second.
Thank you. So it has been moved by Mr. Jaramillo and seconded by Dr. Archambault to move to executive session as presented. Any discussion needed?
No.
All right, hearing none, we shall proceed to a roll call vote. Ms. Sandoval, please.
Dr. Archambault,
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Lee.
Aye, the motion carries. We are going into executive session at 6:51 PM. We shall break for a few minutes in order to get the executive session Zoom link up, etc. And go to the restroom, and we'll reconvene in no more than 10 minutes, please.
Do we need Zoom?
I don't think we need to, but I just am stating it for the record, that we don't have board members on, so I think we can.
Just those guys. We're gonna get a snack.
There are
Bless you.
really good sweets in there, and the soup is
That soup- that soup was
amazing,
good.
guy.
Did you?
Amazing, amazing.
Did I give you?
You did, I just haven't signed it
That's
yet.
fine, because I couldn't find it, and I'm like,
Where did you go?
It's right here. It's right here.
I'll get it after.
Hi, guys. Hey, how are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
You doing all
Aw,
right?
I am, I'm good. Good meeting.
You're coming to see how we do as a board.
Yep,
Board member
yep, I
from
told you
the other
guys I would
side,
stop by.
It's a
Huh?
pleasure
board
to
member
see
from-
you.
Gallup.
Yes.
And she's running for legislature. Senate.
Yeah, she told me she was gonna do that.
Fantastic. All right.
Motion to,
Yes. Is there a motion to reconvene open session?
I'll make a motion,
go ahead.
I'll make a motion to reconvene to open session.
And seconded?
I second the motion to reconvene into open session.
All right, it has been moved by Mr. Jaramillo and seconded by Dr. Archambault to reconvene open session. I will state that we did complete the summative evaluation of Superintendent Widener, and that is completed. We will, no action was taken, only the items listed were discussed. And going forward, we will be discussing further our plans on how we will work with Mr. Widener in the contracted year coming in 2024 going to 2025. And we will have a roll call vote now.
Yes.
Mrs. Sandoval.
Dr. Shambo,
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Lee.
Motion carries, and we have reconvened open session at 7:22 p.m. Announcements. We have quite a few for the Budget and Finance Committees and Central Office Executive members. We have the Spring Budget Conference in Albuquerque, March 20th through 22nd. Mr. Widener, do you want to read them all, or do you want me to keep going? You go right ahead.
I don't mind. We do have the spring budget workshop, and we have the March 26th, we'll have a special board meeting. On March 29th, we have the closure of the district for the Good Friday holiday. No school for students on April 1st. April 2nd will be the professional development day that you're all invited to. I have been sharing the workshop, so definitely would like for you all to come to that if you could be there. April 4th through 9th, we'll be going to the National School Board Association Conference. And then April 12th, we're looking at having a school board policy workshop.
Perfect. We did mention before that we are going to be adding budget planning for future agenda items. And is there anything else at this time?
And that'll be because we'll be past the spring budget workshop, so we'll know what our funding sources will be. One thing that I added from tonight's meeting, that it would be a good opportunity for the board to meet with the Johns Hopkins students. And so I put that on, maybe we could invite them to our special board session or something in the coming weeks. And so I did write that as a future agenda item that we would like to get the students with the board members.
Would you put the school calendar for 24, 25
Ooh,
down,
yes.
because the public needs to know.
They're still working on that.
You're correct. The week before spring break, the Secretary of Education rolled out the 180-day rule. And so we're still looking at ours. It may shift our professional development days some, but as soon as we have that.
My suggestion is that you communicate with our stakeholders, so they know. Because
Yes, sir.
that's going to be, get feedback from the stakeholders about how this is playing out, because you know, in some school districts is a bit controversial.
Right.
How many, when the kids are gonna come. All they wanna know, especially at Acoma Laguna, is they have all the ceremonies in the summer. And we've always had trouble with kids coming in the summer, so how is that impacting everything else? So So we need to, I'm not sure which board meeting we'd want to, but as soon as possible, so everybody can start planning for the coming year.
Thank you for recommending that, Dr. Guy.
Anything
Is there
else?
adding more days to the school?
Well, currently, our calendar we have 186 school days, right? But 10 of those are professional development days. So when you take that, it goes to, we have 176 instructional days. And so we're gonna have to go to the 180. So we may have to give up some of those professional development which,
But we usually go around all the ceremonies that happen around the community
For
and
the,
stuff.
for the fall and
Yeah.
correct,
winter and spring.
correct. And we've got those built in currently.
Right.
And so what we'll do is we'll kind of shift the professional development to where maybe like we have a half day where we do PLCs in the afternoon instead of like formal trainings. So we're close to having
A lot.
a calendar selected and ready to present, so.
And all the teachers and staff members get to vote on
Correct.
the different options, correct?
And Dr. Arsham was absolutely right. Our stakeholders need to know too, because they are impacted and
So when
we
have
do
you
have
guys had
partner
that out by?
schools.
When has it usually been ironed out by?
It's usually in the spring, could be
Yeah.
any time between February and
April.
April. Just depends on what this legislature has done or not done. And sometimes we do 1 year at a time, sometimes 2 years at a time.
Now we kind of know our marching orders.
So instructional time is critical,
Yes.
so. And we're gonna start school at 9 o'clock from now on.
And attendances.
I was talking to one of our,
We want them
one
to
of
all
our
show up.
graduating seniors who's working over here, and he said, "Oh, I'd love to have gone to school." Grant's at 9 o'clock in the morning, because he
Yes.
said, he said, our circadian rhythm. I said, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You get up late, that's what you did.
Yeah, you kid, circadian rhythm.
Sorry about that,
Oh.
public.
Yes, we digress, sorry.
It's,
Yeah, but like you said, you need one attendance, so you wanna have that counted out so that the people get back from vacation and be ready to start
Right.
school, or wait till school's done before you plan your vacation.
They need to know now.
That's all that I have for future agenda items, and
Superintendent Widener, is there a recommendation to adjourn?
I recommend that we adjourn the meeting.
Fantastic. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Does I make a motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
I second that.
Oh, you all have
I don't
taken turns. It's
give
been
you a hard
great.
time.
I don't know if this is a record or not, but for my time being on the board, it is.
All right. It has been moved by Mr. Jaramillo and seconded by Dr. Guy to adjourn the meeting. Ms. Sandoval, roll call, please.
Dr. Shambo?
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Aye. Motion carries. The board adjourned at 7:28 p.m.
You know.
This is a record. We need
Yeah,
to do this
well,
and
every time.
But it could
They
be
give
my
us
record.
cookies and they, for a reward.
But,
Right?
So early.